Hello there, Brick Fanatics. What's this? What's this? Etc, etc. This is Halloween Town in LEGO form. The long-awaited LEGO Ideas Nightmare Before Christmas set has finally been unveiled, and it does look pretty darn creepy. This is something of a Frankenstein's monster of a LEGO set long before we even touched the source material. It was initially the creation of Simon Scott, aka TV Rules My Life, who submitted it as This is Halloween Town for a LEGO Ideas submission in 2020. It did not receive the approval that it needed from the LEGO Group, despite being very popular with fans, and so Simon Scott went back to the drawing board. He says that he took the model to a variety of different events across the UK and got some feedback from other LEGO fans before building it anew and revitalising the entire project, submitting it again, and this time winning the LEGO Group's coveted approval. In practice, this means that the set was effectively dead and then rose from the ashes, came up from its grave to become now the latest LEGO Ideas project to have been revealed in the official final finished form. Now, unfortunately, that does mean that there are multiple different versions of this set, and while this is always true of LEGO Ideas projects that then get the official LEGO treatment and adapted and modified by LEGO designers, I think it's all the more true of one where we've had not one but two previous different versions of this set designed by a fan, and now the LEGO Group has given us the official version, and you can't help but look at the two side by side, or indeed the three side by side, and say, I see some differences. Some LEGO Ideas projects go through the entire LEGO Ideas pipeline and don't tend to change very much, and what you see at the end is more or less the same as what you started with, and some differ so dramatically that you might almost think that it's a completely different set. In this case, I would say that the more drastic changes are not immediately apparent if you're just looking at the finished model and you only have a vague memory of what Simon Scott's original designs looked like. It's only when you put the three of them side by side that you can see not just the legacy and the evolution of the set, but also how the official set differs dramatically from Scott's approved design. Now, we're not going to go into the weeds with this and look at the specific part usage or anything like that, but even if you just look at the broad brushstrokes with which the LEGO Group has painted here, you can see some fundamental differences between the finished set and the fan design, particularly around characters included in the box and the silhouette of the LEGO set as a whole. As is often the case with LEGO Ideas sets, some of these changes are for the worse, some of these changes are for the better, and some of them are just changes, and it's interesting to note those as well. So let's look at the set as a whole, and if you take the finished model and put it next to Simon Scott's approved design, you can definitely see how the finished model is somewhat scaled down in terms of scope and overall footprint when compared with the approved design. The German Impressionist house here is somewhat scaled down in particular. It's no longer quite as tall as it was before, and it's not got quite the same imposing stature that it had before. The twirly-whirly curve upon which Jack and Sally sing their little song has also been, I would say, affirmed. It has been made a bit more concrete and a bit sturdier, and the result of that is that it maybe spirals a little bit less than it did previously. That's not necessarily a bad thing if you then compare that to Simon Scott's original LEGO Ideas project, which had a much more modest sense of scope and scale in the first place. It seems that the LEGO Group said, oh, we don't really love that design, we're not going to approve it. And Simon Scott said, okay, I'm going to see what fans want, and fans wanted bigger, and so it got bigger, and then the LEGO Group said, oh yeah, we like that now, but we are going to make it smaller again. What's interesting here is that the piece count hasn't changed dramatically. The approved design had around 2,000 pieces, according to Simon Scott, and the finished design, the official set, has 2,193 pieces. So things haven't changed in terms of the amount of LEGO in the box. What's changed is how that is distributed. There are various benefits to consolidating like this, one being that it is significantly sturdier, as said, and that's one thing that the LEGO Group really loves to have where possible for a lot of their LEGO sets. They don't want them to be a little bit wobbly. The other significant benefit of shrinking things down a little bit is that it allows for a bit more detail, and I do think that this is one area where the finished model really absolutely shines. What I really love, especially about the town hall, but to a certain degree for all of the model, is how the LEGO Group has not just used these bricks to create the kind of texture that you would expect on a LEGO set, but also, if you look at these pictures, there's a degree of shadow that's being used here. Where things jut out a little bit more, they're able to cast shadow shadow over different parts of the set, and that means that you get a real sense of that Tim Burton feel. And yes, I know that the film was actually directed by Henry Selick and not Tim Burton, but you know who came up with all of the visuals for this. Having a slightly smaller model with that detail and with these parts jutting out a little bit creates a slightly more creepy scene, and one that's going to be fantastic for lighting for anybody who may want to shine lights onto the set, or if you happen to be the kind of person that likes to put little Lego lights inside the set, yeah, this one's going to look fantastic. Now, one of the other things I really love about this set is the use of cloth material in order to add a little bit of extra decoration. So on the top of the town hall, we've got some pinched up curtains, which look really great, some bunting, I guess you could call it. And then over on the swirly whirly thing, we've got the moon behind the scene, which is something that is present in the photos of Simon Scott's approved official design, but only as a kind of a background decoration, as opposed to actually being a part of the set. And that's great because it definitely needs to be an actual part of the set, and I think that this is a very clever way of doing it without adding a huge number of extra elements to the build. Of course, if I know anything about the Lego fandom, I suspect that this is probably going to be a little bit controversial because, hey, what's the point of a Lego set if you just slap a big circle on the back of it? At the same time, I really think it benefits from having that completely circular design in the background at a size and at a scale that the Lego catalogue probably wouldn't be able to provide otherwise. Feel free to tell me that I'm wrong in the comments. I'm absolutely okay with that. There are, of course, other changes, but I think the other really big one that's going to stand out for people is the characters included in the box. Jack Skellington has had something of an almost literal glow up because he's now significantly taller than he was before and actually looks more like his counterpart in the films. The minifigure that Simon Scott used for the Nightmare Before Christmas project, before it was actually finished, came from the collectible minifigure series of Disney characters. The second series of those, I believe, and in there Jack has just got regular minifigure proportions, which never really felt like it did the character justice. This time around, avatar bodies are available, and so now Jack can be nice and lanky. Now, he's not completely different from the collectible minifigure Jack because he's got that wonderful bow tie element that came with that particular minifigure, and I think that's wonderful. Otherwise, his printing is slightly different. He's got an ever so slightly different facial expression, but otherwise, this character's real change is in his height. The changes on Sally, on the other hand, are ever so slightly more difficult to see because she's using the same hairpiece and a very, very similar printing, but there are slight differences here, both in the printing and in the fact that she's now got dual molded legs, which is a pretty neat little inclusion. Otherwise, I don't feel like this is going to be a hugely sought after minifigure for anybody who's already got the original Sally from the collectible minifigure series, simply because there's not any big, huge fundamental changes, and that one in the CMF bag was actually very cool and very well detailed to begin with, so we've already had a very nice Sally. While it's debatable whether or not you would call this a minifigure, Zero the dog has changed entirely because now he is a unique custom molded element, where previously he was the dog from Lego Hidden Side. I do think there's a fair amount of obvious inspiration with Spencer the dog from Hidden Side taken from The Nightmare Before Christmas because both of them are ghost dogs, and so it did make sense for Simon Scott to simply use that element for his model when nothing more suitable was available, and I'm very glad that that character has made it into this official set. And it is wonderful to have a unique custom piece which is a little bit more fitting and definitely reflects the character a bit better, even though I think some people will again say, oh, it's not really Lego if they just plop make a thing that is exactly what you need. At the same time, Hidden Side has been over for a while now, and that Zero mold might simply have been retired as well by this point, so it could be that the Lego group had to make something unique, and if that's the case, why not simply make an exact replica of Zero? Somewhat disappointing is the loss of the skeletal reindeer that appeared in Simon Scott's approved design, because they were really cool and a wonderful inclusion, and they are just not here at all. Neither is Dr. Finkelstein. Dr. Finkelstein was included in both of Simon Scott's initial designs for the project, and his absence here does mean that we miss out on both an iconic character from the film and also the opportunity for a wheelchair element in this box, which is a little bit of a shame. In his place, we have a brick-built mare who is, I have to say, like, it's a pretty cool design, and I do quite like the little collection of bricks that make him up here. It just is a little bit odd that he's the only brick-built character in a set that is otherwise all attempting to make minifigures work for characters that really don't work in minifigure form. Case in point, Lock, Shock and Barrel, who certainly look definitely creepy and a bit weird, but I feel like outside of the context of Nightmare Before Christmas Lego, you might look at these minifigures and think, oh, they must be from Batman or something. Which admittedly there's a fair amount of Tim Burton in Batman as well, but the characters are missing some of the unique elements that really make them stand out in the film. I really feel like the two Simon Scott versions of this set do these characters better by having them in their Halloween trick-or-treat gear instead of in just kind of more generic plain clothes, where you gain a little bit more of the creepy weirdness of Halloween Town by seeing them dressed up, and they stand out a bit more for that, rather than just being three very pale, slightly off-putting looking characters that don't have very much by way of unique features to their designs, and particularly their torsos and other parts of their clothing. Finally, rounding out this set, we have Sandy Claus, and here is an improvement over Simon Scott's design, where Simon Scott was working with the physical bricks that he could actually get his hands on, and therefore used a Santa from, I think, well, just basically anywhere with a traditional yellow minifigure skin and nothing particularly standout or Tim Burton-esque. And this new Sandy Claus minifigure just feels a little bit more like the Nightmare Before Christmas one. He's got rosy cheeks, he's got a dress element for like a robe instead of having legs, and it's difficult to communicate the size of a character in minifigure form, and so you don't entirely get the kind of the roundness and the softness that you have from Santa in The Nightmare Before Christmas, but they've done their best, the Lego designers, at just hinting at that while being limited to the minifigure proportions. What is a little bit disappointing here is that while Jack Skellington in Simon Scott's designs had the shorter legs and therefore you could just swap heads in order to put him into the full Sandy Claus regalia, here it's not going to work quite as well. We needed a longer, lengthier alternative outfit for Jack Skellington, perhaps an entirely separate minifigure for him dressed in his Santa outfit, in order to differentiate him from the slightly pudgier, rounder proportions of Sandy Claus in this set. Now, as said, these are only the very broadest of strokes of changes within the set, and if you have a look at these pictures side by side, you will definitely notice more little changes. And it would be really interesting to know some of the insight behind why the Lego designers felt that they needed to adapt this set in this way. And if you are interested in knowing more, then coming up on brickfanatics.com in the near future, we will have an interview with the Lego Ideas designers who worked on this set, where they will hopefully be able to give us a little bit more of an understanding of how the set changed and what the reasons behind that were. Remember, in order to check that out, go to brickfanatics.com. Otherwise, make sure that you do all of the regular YouTube things here. Make sure that you give a thumbs up and hit subscribe and the notification bell. Leave a comment down below letting us know what you think of the new set. Make sure that if you're going to be making any Lego.com purchase in the near future, including this set, that you use the affiliate link, which is down in the description, or the QR code that is currently on screen. It takes you straight to the Lego website. We get a little bit of a kickback when you make that purchase. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but helps to support Brick Fanatics. Otherwise, I hope that you have an absolutely lovely day. Thank you for watching.